Thank you so much. Keep it going for Kelly and everyone here today. It's been really great watching all the speakers and the panel, really inspirational. And I'll tell you, while I was sitting in the back and I was getting ready to speak, and I thought, the group seems reserved, really focused, and I'm going to be asking you to do some improv. I don't know how this is going to go. And then Val got up and I walked in and you were all like chanting and stomping, and I was like, I'm good. So a big hand for Val for that wonderful. All right, so I want to start things off today with a story. As you can see on the right here, anyone ever go to a Christmas pageant or even been part of one? So I was 2 years old on the picture on the right, and I was the leading role of shepherd number 4. Thank you. And my brother was playing the wise man. I was jealous. He had one of the better roles. And there's video footage of this, of me just literally circling the church screaming. And I would come up to my brother holding the gift as the wise man, and I would hit it out of his hand, and the whole crowd would laugh. And then I'd run screaming. I was very consistent. I just did like lap after lap after lap. And I bring up this story, I open with this story because that 2-year-old didn't really care, that he didn't know the lines, that he didn't have the right choreography down, that he was shepherd number 4. Did I say 4? I think it was 4. All he cared about was being present, being in that moment, and feeding on the energy. And I think what's really interesting about this is that I really genuinely believe that we are all born to play the lead in our lives. And as kids, we've got that down pat, right? But then we get older and we get conditioned and the systems come into play and we start to learn to sort of fade into the background. So as we start today, I want to ask you, what was your shepherd moment? Do you remember a moment as a kid or even recently where you sort of stepped into the lead role instinctively, where you had no sort of doubt about what you were doing, you weren't questioning it, you were present, you were stepping in? What comes to mind? You could answer it with a word if a full sentence isn't coming to mind. Is there a word that comes to mind? Is there a memory? Yeah.
It was making me think of when I was in elementary school, I was part of the talent show, and then me and my friends did the Girls Just Want to Have Fun song.
Oh, yeah.
And we just went out there and had a blast.
Amazing.
Put it all out there.
Awesome. How many people resonate with that? Did you have a similar story, right? So, what's really interesting about this is that if we really sat down and thought about it, we could probably think of a handful of stories that we've either had firsthand experience with or we witnessed that I call like spotlight moments in our lives. But life has a way, someone earlier said life is lifing, life has a way of lifing. And pretty soon, we're sort of looking back and wondering, when did I stop that? Like, when did I stop having spotlight moments? So like, what comes to mind for when that stopped, right? Like, when did you decide to be the extra instead of the leading role in your life? And I think what's interesting is that I know Val was talking about this as well with the belief systems, but we get like stacked up with all these belief systems. And I studied psychology, so along with acting and a bunch of other things, I never slept. I still don't. But I just find it really fascinating as humans that we have this innate desire to be the leading role, but at the same time, we have an opposite desire to fade back into the background. And so we're always in conflict with ourselves, and then therefore we have conflict with other people. And so for me, my window into all of this came from the world of acting. As Kelly mentioned, I've had these credits in acting, which I'll get into in a second, but I started to go through the process of learning what it actually means to step into the lead role. And it was a bumpy ride. I'm not gonna lie, I had raging ADHD, so I had to learn that. I suffered from mental health challenges and identity crisis as I was growing up, but I always came back to this idea of like, what actually denotes a spotlight moment? What actually brings us to a confident place? How many people have been told by someone or somewhere, just be confident? Right? It's easy, just be confident. Power pose, right? And you know what's interesting is that, like, again, to Val's point, at this point you'll think Val and I planned this. The body does keep the score, right? The body is very, very powerful. But I think what happens is when we can't buy into something, when we don't actually fully believe it, then we're not going to be able to embody it. And so confidence is an inner game. So I want you to take a moment and I want you to turn to the person next to you. And I'm going to give you 45 seconds and I want you to just tell them, what was your shepherd story? What was a moment that I went full on, when I stepped right into the moment, when I was confident without thinking about it? It could have been last week, it could have been 10 years ago, and if you can't think of something, then you can literally just say, you know what, I have no idea. I don't know when it was. And that's okay as well to say to the person next to you. I think that's healing to say that to the person next to you. So 45 seconds. I love that. Okay, all right. So let's take a moment here, and I want to just get like very quickly three shares here. You can either share with me what you shared really quickly in a sentence, or you can share with me what you heard in a sentence. Okay, either or. Anyone want to share? Yes.
It felt like an out-of-body experience.
Ooh, I love that. Felt like an out-of-body experience. I see nodding heads. I love that. Anyone else want to share something they heard or shared?
She said she had to speak in front of 3,000 people randomly by chance, and she never did it before. And then right after, she was like, I loved it, and then it became her job.
Yeah. Amazing. Anyone else want to? Yeah.
That it just didn't require permission. We just did it.
Didn't require permission. Yeah, please.
I like that I had no fear to get up and have Valjoy ask me any questions she wanted to.
Yes. Just experience it in the moment. Val, you and I have to go on the road. Okay, so now what I want you to do is turn to the same person, and I'm going to give you even less time, and I want you to tell them when you stopped playing the lead. Now some will push back and go, no, I do play the lead in my life. I know what I've got, I know my gifts, I put myself out there, but there's always a nook and cranny, right? Like there's always somewhere where we're not playing the lead in our lives, right? Sometimes it's in our career, but as a mom or in our family, we step into that role, but not in our career. Sometimes it's the opposite. So take a moment now. When did you stop playing the lead in your life? In a sentence to the person beside you. An example of when you stopped. All right, I'm gonna cut it there. I'm gonna cut it there on purpose. And if nothing came, if you're still thinking, that's okay. Yeah, quickly.
actually like credit.
Anyone want to share really quickly? What did you hear? What did you say? What did you learn or what did you share? Maybe someone from the back. Does anyone want to share? Anyone from the back want to share something they heard or said?
Yeah? That's okay. Do you want to say something about the last thing? That's cool too. Yeah, go for it.
I would just say so much credit where credit is due. She was like, oh, I don't know if there is like a time when I would like step up, and then she was like, but then I just started my own private practice and I could just get it. And I'm like, girl,
Yes.
that is it.
Yes.
Credit where credit's due.
Thank you. You know, speaking of, we don't give ourselves enough credit, do we? We can give other people credit for days, right? But we don't give ourselves enough credit. And even if we do find a way to give ourselves credit, how many people are secretly on the inside thinking something along the lines of, I secretly have no idea what I'm doing, right? And if that doesn't come to mind, how about this? I need to be more or have more or do more, fill in the blank here. I'll tell you, there's no industry on earth that teaches you how to deal with that more than the acting and entertainment industry. I think I have a PhD in rejection at this point, but it's really interesting because what you learn is that at the end of the day, rejection is never something that comes from someone else or something else. It's always an inside job, right? Like, it's just another way to reject yourself. So if you're already rejecting yourself, an industry laden with rejection is going to amplify it, right? It's an amplifier. And if you're not already rejecting yourself, then you're not going to view it that way. And I think this is a really great metaphor for how we live life. I want to give you some figures. I'm jumping around, ADHD, but just we'll all get through it together. So, company success depends on culture and character. So there's some data here that I want to share with you. 50% higher productivity when passivity is replaced with psychological safety in the workplace, right? So what happens when we fade into the background as individuals is that we fade into the background within a company, and then the culture shifts to a more passive culture, right? And this is like the same old. How many people here have fallen into the same old at your workplace, right? Where it's like, this is what we do. Why? Because it's what we do. 35% of employees feel comfortable speaking up to their managers. 35% of employees feel comfortable speaking up. And 70% of the workforce experiences imposter syndrome. So what you gotta remember is, if you're a team leader here, your people are talented. If you're on a team, you are talented. But you stopped acting like it. Right? You stopped understanding how your talent actually leads to the bottom line and productivity in a company, for example. So for me, despite the anxiety, the ADHD, the struggles in my life, I started to figure out a formula of sorts for success and confidence. Believe me when I say that despite being a 2-year-old running around a church and screaming, I wasn't naturally a confident kid. But I started to clue into what was going on in a high competitive industry. And I started to understand how to sort of hack the system and make it work for me. And then from there, working with some of my idols, I took what I learned to companies all over the world, and I started to teach companies how to do the same thing. And what's fascinating to me is that, you know, I was working, for example, with Microsoft, with some of the big people in Microsoft. And what's fascinating to me is that in that room, it was the same things I was hearing working with employees at like FreshBooks, for example. Everyone is dealing with the same kind of things on the inside, but we don't talk about it enough. And more, we don't have actual strategies and tips and techniques and tools to move through the challenges we have. And as someone who, again, has raging ADHD, I need tips, I need tools, I need things that work in the moment, in the heat of the moment, in what I call on the spot, when you're put on the spot. Most tools don't work because they're not created for fight or flight moments. Would you agree? Yes. So you're like, oh, I'm in a panic attack right now. what did I read in that book? What page was that, right? You need to be able to pull it up in the moment when you're going through it. So for me, that's when I started to learn that a main character is not someone who's perfect. A main character is someone who knows that they're flawed, but they take the focus off themselves and they have the confidence to put it on everyone else. Because as soon as you get nervous in any of these situations, the first thing you do is look at the mirror, at yourself. You go, well, no, I couldn't do that. I learned this firsthand the first time when I was actually helping to cast TV series. So I was working with a casting director. And we'd have performers come in, we'd have actors come in, and they'd walk in and they'd go, sorry, okay, where do I? And like they were already not getting the role, right? And then you'd see actors come in and they would be like, they'd come in very confident, they take their mark, they know what they're doing, they finish the take, they go to leave, and then they stop and go, when is this shooting? Friday, let me just check my planner here. Oh, this is a true story. There's nothing in it for months, so and then I remember the casting director turning to me and saying they just talked themselves out of the role. They had the role. So what's fascinating is when I started to work with teams, I started to see all of the parallels, right? When they would come in and do a presentation, and they would pitch, rather. They'd come in and do a pitch, and they'd have it. They'd have everyone on board. They'd have the partners on board, right? And all of a sudden, someone would sidestep and go, well, we would probably change that though. Like that's not exactly what we do. We'd probably go in and we change it and we make it more relevant for you and and I could see like the confidence level going down, right? Because we role play some of these things. So what's interesting is that idea of